failing harder than cheap toilet paper. He can't keep his own shit in order at this point. He's lied about simply everything from pensions to taxation to monetary policy, and now he's going to raise council tax by 10%. He even broke rules during lockdown when he had his vocal coach over to give him some lessons, and she did a pretty poor job because he still sounds like he's got a major stinking cold even when he's denying stuff. He obviously...
I'm not here to thrash the living daylights out of you. A lot of you are probably thinking, what the hell is Ant Middleton doing here at the Reform Conference? Well, what do I know about politics? I know enough about modern day politics to realise that it's not working here in the UK. Hence, the solution is in the title, reform. Political reform is definitely needed. And it doesn't take the brains of Elon Musk to realise that. What do I know? Now, I do know about national security. I do know about safety. I do know about personal safety. I do know about community. I do know about teamwork. I do know about coming...
Keir Starmer once promised to bring dignity, clarity, and direction back into British politics, but tonight that promise looks less like leadership and more like a national power outage. The man who vowed to lead with conviction now finds himself accused of leading with confusion, paralysis, and a level of caution so extreme even his supporters are starting to question whether he's actually awake. And today, that uncertainty didn't come from the Tories, the tabloids, or even frustrated voters. It came from someone far more dangerous.
I haven't spoken about this yet, about 3 weeks ago, and I'm with...
Keir Starmer now says he's the guy that's going to control our borders. The same Keir Starmer that decriminalised illegal immigration, has prioritised illegals over our own good people, has thrown them into hotels and generally prioritised them for housing as well, and wanted to make sure that anyone who spoke out against illegal immigration was called far right and put in prison. But now suddenly he's all for it. He also says that those arriving in our country should speak English. Maybe he could go to Birmingham or Bradford or Luton or Leicester or any other of his voting areas and say that, because none of them will understand a blood.
Lady Hopkins, delivering a brutal reckoning wrapped in sarcasm sharper than a surgeon's scalpel. It was an execution. Hopkins tore into Starmer's credibility with a coldness that left even seasoned commentators blinking. What unfolded next wasn't an interview. She mocked his constant U-turns, his scripted speeches, and his uncanny ability to say everything while committing to absolutely nothing. And when she hit him with the line that he's failing harder than cheap toilet paper, the room didn't gasp, they nodded. Because beneath the humor sits a reality many people quietly feel. Starmer's leadership isn't strong, it's soft. Not decisive, but diluted. Then came the details, hard, painful, and impossible to spin. The broken promises on pensions, the confusion over tax policy, the looming 10% council tax hike that no family asked for and no household can afford. Starmer insisting he followed every rule while quietly inviting his vocal coach over. And yes, the lockdown hypocrisy. A vocal coach who, according to Hopkins, did a pretty poor job because he still sounds like he has a permanent cold even when he's denying everything. It was political evisceration delivered with a punchline. But the dismantling didn't stop with Hopkins. Enter Ant Middleton, former soldier, survival expert, and not exactly a political heavyweight. Yet somehow, his words hit even harder. He stood before the crowd at the Reform Conference and admitted he wasn't a politician, but he didn't need to be to spot the problem. Modern politics isn't working, he said, and the room erupted because he wasn't wrong. And when he added that you don't need Elon Musk-level genius to realize the UK needs serious reform, Starmer's carefully curated image cracked even further. Middleton's takedown was simple but devastating. He spoke about teamwork, community, safety, values Starmer claims to champion but rarely seems to embody. And then came the line that will echo far beyond today: is this really your leader, or just a confused librarian wandering through a war zone? It wasn't cruel for the sake of cruelty. It was a metaphor for a man who looks overwhelmed by the job he spent years fighting to get. The contrast between Middleton's grounded bluntness and Starmer's scripted caution was impossible to ignore. And just when the dust looked like it might settle, Katie Hopkins returned with the kind of political blow that sticks to a leader for months. She reminded the audience that Starmer wants to be the man controlling Britain's borders, the same Starmer who once decriminalized illegal immigration, housed thousands of illegal entrants in hotels, prioritized them for housing, and labeled anyone who questioned him far-right. Suddenly, His new tough talk on border control looked less like a policy shift and more like panic disguised as principle. This wasn't just criticism. It was a full-force collapse of the image Starmer has spent 4 years polishing. The grown-up in the room looked cornered. The man of principle looked inconsistent. The future prime minister looked less like a leader and more like a placeholder, waiting, hoping, praying that no one asks him a question he can't read off a teleprompter. And after today's takedown, even that hope seems optimistic. So here's the real question Britain is now forced to confront, in an age of crisis, chaos, and constant change, or is it only a matter of time before the beige burns away? Can a cautious politician survive the fire of public scrutiny? Because after today, Keir Starmer didn't walk out wounded. He didn't walk out weakened. Politically, he didn't walk out at all.